Shocking secrets of twins with extreme deformities. Marrying each other changes everything forever. The town of Crestwood was about to witness the most bizarre spectacle of their lives. Sarah and Sam were twins, but not just any twins. They were born with extreme deformities, twisted limbs, mismatched features, and an undeniable bond that hummed between them like an unseen current. When the news broke that they were preparing to marry, every eye in town was glued to the unfolding story, a tragicomedy that seemed ripped from the pages of a fever dream. Could love truly conquer all? Whispers sped through the streets like wildfire. Some felt pity, while others recoiled in horror. The twins had always been an enigma. As children, they were oddities, reduced to shadows in the bustling playground. Kids avoided them, their faces contorting into expressions of disgust rather than sympathy. But now it was different. Now, they were in the spotlight, an extraordinary couple defying societal norms, ready to unveil secrets that could rock the foundations of their sleepy town. It started with the local gossip flowing like a river after rain, unpredictable and wild. Did you see how they looked at each other in the grocery store? Their eyes. It's like they can see straight into each other as souls. Came the gasps from the hair salon. Stunning revelations began to unravel not just their relationship, but what would happen when they married. Would they twist even further into a single being, their bodies entwining in an eternal struggle of pain and ecstasy? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the wedding day approached, tension knotted in the air like an over-tightened bowstring. Questions buzzed like flies. Could their physical union unleash monsters within themselves? Or would it bind them in ways no one could dare to imagine? The chapel was old, its wooden pews creaking with history, as family and friends gathered. The twins stood at the altar, a vision of chaos and beauty. Their hands shook, hearts pounding a frantic rhythm of love, fear, and the unknown. But as they began to recite their vows, something unexplainable happened. The room temperature dropped. Gasps echoed as icy air slithered through the space, sending chills up spines. Did the air feel heavier? People exchanged nervous glances, their eyes darting around the room, awaiting the supernatural twist that felt imminent. What was lurking in the shadows, waiting to disrupt the union destined to change everything forever? A deep hush enveloped the chapel, almost as if the world outside had paused. Each breath felt heavy, as if they were inhaling the weight of unspoken secrets. The twins stood frozen, their eyes locked onto one another, oblivious to the mounting anxiety around them. It wasn't just the chilling air that roused concern, it was the sensation threading through the congregation. A feeling they couldn't shake off, like the murmur of an impending storm. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Is this part of the ceremony? Someone whispered nervously. A child whimpered, clutching their mother's leg, eyes wide with fear. The pastor cleared his throat, attempting to regain control, but his voice trembled, betraying the unease thrumming through the air. Sarah, Sam, if you could, he faltered. He caught his breath, eyeing the twins, hoping they would pull him out of this eerie moment. Just then, Sarah looked up with a sparkle in her eye, and her hand instinctively reached for Samus. The contact sent a jolt of energy reverberating through the room. The gasps reached a crescendo. The candles flickered violently, shadows dancing along the walls. It felt as if time had twisted around them, binding them in some inexplicable bond, drawing everyone closer to the brink of realization that this was more than just a marriage. Something darker lay ahead. All at once, the twins began to chant their vows, not in unison, but in a strange, almost hypnotic rhythm that enveloped the room. Words spilled from their lips, ancient and unfamiliar, stirring the air with an otherworldly energy. By blood and bone, by heart and soul we are one. As they spoke, flickers of light seemed to pulsate from their entwined hands, illuminating the faces of their family and friends. Eyes widened, and mouths fell agape, paralyzed in awe and dread. Then, a piercing sound shattered the moment. A loud crash echoed from the back of the chapel. Heads snapped around, the source of the disturbance revealing itself. A figure stood there, cloaked in shadow, exuding a palpable menace. Whispers erupted anew, thick with fear. Who is that? What do they want? The crowd instinctively recoiled, pressing together, searching for solace in each other's dread-stricken faces. Stay back. Don't let it near them, shouted a voice from the front, rattling nerves. It was Sarah's father, panic twisting his features as he shoved his way towards the unsettling presence. Those confident enough to muster courage turned their attention toward the figure, realizing it was no ordinary individual. The twisted face, obscured by a hood, resembled something otherworldly, something not quite human. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them, shaking everything in its grasp. The chapel's walls creaked ominously as if responding to the unsettling presence. The candles flickered and died, plunging the crowd into darkness, just before a blinding light erupted from the twins, forcing everyone to shield their eyes, and in that deafening silence, a thought clawed its way through the tumultuous fear. Was their union a gateway to something unearthly, or had they awakened something that would tear their lives apart? As the brightness faded and reality set in, people looked around, breathless, drowning in uncertainty. Could they escape the chaos that had suddenly engulfed them? Outside, the storm raged unbeknownst to them. It was nothing compared to what was brewing within the chapel. With hearts racing and dread creeping back in, a startling realization dawned. The twins had just begun to uncover the true power of their bond, but what other forces lay waiting to be unleashed? How would they confront this raging tide, and what dark corners of their past had they disturbed? The chapel descended into absolute darkness, vibrating with an energy that felt alive. Gasps mixed with frantic whispers and muffled cries, creating a cacophony of fear as everyone searched for courage in the encroaching gloom. Parents gripped their children tighter. The elderly clutched their canes, their knuckles white as they steadied themselves. Sam, Sarah, their father shouted, his voice strained, breaking through the panic. But the twins remained locked in their trance, oblivious to their father's terror. The air crackled with tension, dangerously charged, as if a storm was building right inside that ancient sanctuary as the shadows pressed closer. A low growl rumbled from the cloaked figure. The sound curled around them like smoke, sapping the warmth from the air. The pastor's voice trembled as he battled to steady himself. In the name of the Lord, I command you to leave this place. But his words hung in the air, no match for the force gathering at the back of the chapel. The twins, sensing a presence they could not see, began to sway gently, still locked in that otherworldly connection. With every sway, the shadows seemed to thicken, swooping towards them with an insatiable hunger. The flicker of dim lights returned, casting grotesque shadows over faces twisted by fear. Then, with a thunderous crack, one of the stained glass windows shattered, sending shards spiraling into the air like crystalline tears. The light pouring in from outside was suffocated by the darkness swirling around the hooded figure. Someone screamed, a high-pitched sound that cut through the air, sharp enough to hurt. "Get out! We need to get out now!" shouted a woman, her eyes wild, and panic surged through the congregation. They stumbled backward, trying to form a path to freedom, but the door remained locked, shrouded in even deeper shadow. The cold crept deeper into their bones, a chill more profound than fear. Sarah pulled away from her brother for the first time, her eyes wide with realization. "Sam, we can't break the bond," she said, her voice trembling as she took a step closer to him. "Don't you see?" Sam's voice was low, shaking as he struggled to focus on her. "We might have unleashed something we can't control." Another crash echoed through the room. The crowd screamed, a wave of terror washing over them, and people fell to the ground, scrambling towards safety. The twisted figure took a step forward, revealing terrible eyes glowing like embers in the dark. It pointed an elongated finger towards the twins, and they felt a pull, their hearts thumping in sync, resonating with the figure's malicious energy. By blood and bone you have called forth. Its voice slithered through the air, chilling their souls. You shall pay the price for this awakening. A powerful wind battered them, whipping around like a tempest. The twins struggled to fight the force trying to tear them apart, their hands instinctively reaching for each other, their fingers entwined in desperation. But just as they locked eyes, an unbearable pain shot through Sam. He howled, pressing his hand against his chest, as if something was clawing at him from the inside. Sarah gasped, the bond they had forged suddenly feeling like a noose tightening around them both. Sam, she cried, fear spiraling into horror as she watched him stumble back. The crowd, too terrified to help, could only witness what unfolded, a nightmare they had never anticipated. Then, without warning, the earth shook again violently, this time the very foundation of the chapel threatening to collapse. A blinding flash illuminated the room, revealing fragments of the past flitting like ghosts. The memories, twisted and painful, surged around them, overwhelming and suffocating. Sarah, find the truth. Sam's voice pierced through the chaos, desperate and strained. Only the truth can set us free. The shadows intensified, closing in around them, and the echoes of ancient chants grew louder, drowning out the frenzied thoughts coursing through everyone's mind. The twisted figure loomed over them, its voice now a deafening roar. The chapel had transformed into a battleground not only for the twins but for a truth that could shatter everything they had ever known. With their bond at stake and a force waiting to consume them, the twins had to make a choice. What secret lay buried in their past? Would it be enough to sever the grip of an unimaginable darkness? The air felt thick, suffocating. Sam's heart pounded viciously against his ribcage, each beat an urgent warning, demanding action. He locked eyes with Sarah, but pain surged up his spine, and with it came blinding fear. Shadows crept closer, their tendrils reaching out and wrapping around his body like chains. Get closer, he shouted, forcing the air from his lungs. We can't lose the connection. Sarah hesitated, glancing anxiously at the cloaked figure. The eyes that glowed like dying embers seemed to pierce right through her, and the feeling was undeniable. Whatever dark force was present, it was no longer just seeking Sam. It was hungry for both of them. It's too dangerous, she screamed back, her voice barely heard over the chaos. But when she glanced at the terrified faces of their friends and family, she knew they had no choice. We have to do this together, Sam. The shadows wrenched closer, and with a surge of effort, they reached for each other, their fingers weaving desperately. With their hands clasped, a flicker of warmth shot through the biting cold that engulfed them. In that moment, their bond sparked a shockwave that echoed through the chapel and sent ripples through the darkness. The figure howled, the sound like nails on a chalkboard, reverberating through the vaulted ceiling. The truth is buried, it screeched, rage pouring from every syllable, and you will succumb to its weight. Accept your fate. In that instant, the chapel transformed, incandescent flashes of past memories swirling around them, the laughter of their childhood, the harsh words of their peers, visions of an old family album littered with photos of smiling faces, all seemed to ensnare them in a cyclone of forgotten truths. Faces of relatives long gone flashed by, eyes wide with accusation, mouths whispering secrets that had been silenced for years. Sam, remember what we found? Sarah shouted over the rising storm, clenching his hand tighter, her voice filled with fierce determination. The box in the attic, the letters. But how? Sam gasped, feeling the last threads of his strength waning. It can't be real. It destroyed everything. A sudden, blinding light surged from their joined hands, pushing against the engulfing shadows. It radiated warmth, a stark contrast to the cold terror suffocating the room. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that blended uncertainty with clarity. Just as hope began to rise, a violent tremor shook the floor beneath them, ripping apart the moment of clarity. The figure reared back, visible rage distorting its already grotesque form. You think you can defy me? You are nothing. You are born from darkness. Crowds erupted in panic, a wave of bodies jolting against each other, desperate for escape. But as the chaos intensified, the twins remembered the letters in the attic. They held the key. There was something hidden in their past that could undo the horrors that were unfolding now. Together, Sam yelled with renewed vigor. On 3, we pull the truth from the darkness. 1, 2, but before he could finish, a deafening crash echoed through the chapel. The walls quivered, and fear morphed into pure terror as something shattered within the swirling shadows. 3. They shouted in unison. A blinding surge of energy exploded from their hands, and for a breathtaking moment, it was as if the world stood still. They could see the figure falter, its shadows dissipating as the incandescent light cascaded outward. The air hummed with a story yet untold. Then, the shadows twisted, revealing not one but many shapes, each bearing an unsettling familiarity. The truth shrouded within them began to claw its way to the surface, threatening to drown them in its violent revelations. What lay ahead? What truth awaited to be unearthed that could either save their souls or destroy them forever? The chaos around them escalated, a deafening blend of screams and crashing sounds as the chapel threatened to collapse under the weight of its own dark history. Sarah and Sam felt the immense pull of the sinister force trying to reel them back into despair, but they wouldn't let go. They had to stand strong, to face whatever truth the shadows were desperate to keep hidden. Look, Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the maelstrom. The air shimmered, and through the haze, she could make out parallel forms emerging from the dark. They were no longer just shadows. They were the faceless specters of their past, reminders of lost moments and painful secrets. The figure faltered, its menacing wails intertwining with the echoes of guilt that spiraled around them. You can't escape, it howled, voice echoing off the walls, a damning reminder of all they had tried to forget. What are they? Sam murmured, breath hitching, as he released a shuddering breath. The familiar shapes began to solidify, revealing memories that made his skin crawl. The cruel taunts from school, his father's stern frown, the moment they discovered the box in the attic filled with letters betraying their family's darkest secrets. They're us. Sarah's voice trembled, but her grip on Sam tightened. Everything we've tried to hide, it's coming for us. We need to confront it. The ground shook violently beneath them as the dread figures lunged forward, each one seeking to pull them deeper into the darkness. Sam's eyes flared with fierce determination. No, we won't be victims anymore. He roared, as if to drown out the cacophony of anguish surrounding him. Another explosion of light emanated from their hands, momentarily pushing the shadows back, but it wouldn't last. The walls shuddered, loose stones collapsing to the floor like the crumbling remnants of their past. They could almost hear the whispers clearer now. You're not enough. You'll never be enough. Stay with me, Sam, Sarah urged, desperate fear creeping into her voice. But just as their bond fueled a flicker of hope, the cloaked figures surged forward, sweeping their surroundings into a suffocating cloud of despair. You did not uncover the truth. You merely skimmed the surface, it screeched, now towering, an embodiment of their own darkness. What lies beneath will haunt you until your last breath. Each accusation was a knife in Sarah's heart. I'll face it, she declared, surprising even herself with the fierceness in her tone. We have the letters. We can end this. Suddenly, a weighty silence enveloped the chapel, an eerie stillness that felt more ominous than the noise. In that silence came a single, whisper-quiet voice from the shadows. Do you still think the truth will set you free? With a shudder, Sarah recognized that voice. It belonged to a figure they both knew too well. Their long-lost mother, her face twisted in an expression of disappointment and sorrow. Mom? Sam gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. But we thought what? The figure closed in, weaving through the tendrils of darkness, merging with the despair. That you could forget? That you could redefine what you are? You are shackled to the past. The air crackled with tension, and the ground quaked again, as if the very chapel was rebelling against the impending horror coming forth. The siblings' past clawed its way into their present, threatening to force them down a path from which there was no return. "Sam!" Sarah yelled, heart racing. "We have to finish what we started or we'll be lost." And just then, from the shadows, shimmers of their childhood home appeared, haunting and familiar. The attic, the box, everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. As the memories came crashing in, the siblings stood at a crossroads of truth and terror. Would they uncover the secrets they both feared, or would the nightmare consume them? What awaited them in that box, hidden in the attic? What horrors would they unleash in seeking their truth? The shadows danced erratically, flickering like dying flames as the echo of their mother's voice hung heavily in the air. Sarah could feel the cold breath of despair creeping up her spine, a palpable reminder of every moment they had avoided confronting. "You can't hide from me," the twisted figure whispered, its words like molten steel scraping against her soul. Was it really their mother standing before them or something more sinister? She could hardly breathe, anguish wrapping around her chest like a vice. "Sarah, think." Sam's voice broke through her haze, sharp and urgent. His eyes darted between their mother and the swirling remnants of their nightmares. "We need to focus. The letters, they're our only way out." With a jolt of clarity, Sarah's fear morphed into determination. "Yes, the box. We need to uncover everything." A tremor ran through the stones beneath them, as if the ground knew they were on the brink of something crucial. The air trembled with unspoken truths. "Do you really think opening that box will free you? It will only bind you tighter to the family curse." Their mother spat, now enveloped in shadows that threatened to drag them back into the depths of their painful history. "Curse or not, we have to know," Sam shouted, his voice steady and fierce as he stepped forward, defiance surging through him like adrenaline. The figures of their past hissed and shrieked, a cacophony of their darkest moments intertwining, but it only fueled their resolve. "Mom, if you are truly here, then help us understand. Help us break the cycle." Sarah's plea was raw, tears spilling down her cheeks as she fought against the tide of despair. The figure froze, its face momentarily flickering through expressions disappointment, rage, sorrow, each one a dagger to their hearts. For a heartbeat, the air felt heavy with possibility. Then, with tangible malice, the shadow surged forward, enveloping Sarah and Sam like a tide. "You're trapped in your past. One way or another you will accept this fate." The ground quaked again, and the illumination surrounding them faltered. Felt like time itself was unraveling. Sarah's vision blurred with panic, her pulse racing faster than she thought possible. "Sam, now!" With a rush of frantic movement, they reached into the depths of their memories. Every painful experience, every fractured moment, and all the letters disappeared from their minds, swirling into the abyss. They remembered the feeling of the attic's wooden floor beneath their feet, the dusty smell of age seeping through the air as they had discovered that box years ago. As if drawn by an unseen force, their hands found each other, grounding them against the tide of despair. "Whatever is inside that box, we will face it together," Sam declared, gripping tightly to Sarah's hand, as a spark of light ignited between them. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if taken aback by their unity. "Do you think that bond can protect you from the truth?" their mother hissed, her form shifting violently. "You cannot escape what's written in blood." But their connection felt electric, their shared pain no longer a binding curse but a powerful force, rallying in the face of haunting pasts. As they summoned the strength coursing between them, the specters lunged once more, incensed and desperate to pull them down into their world of regret. The air thickened, suffocating around them, yet Sarah and Sam stood their ground, heartbeats pounding in defiance. The illumination around them intensified, a burst that lit up the chapel's crumbling interior, casting the shadows into far corners. "Can we do this? Can we reveal the truth without being torn apart by it?" A howling scream erupted from the cloaked figure, shattering the tension in the air. "You are foolish to challenge fate." Then, with a deafening crack, an unseen force erupted from the ground beneath the chapel, swirling memories and shadows into a dizzying cyclone. It pulled at Sarah and Sam, yanking them closer to a yawning void where the past awaited. they had taken the plunge. There was no turning back now. What is hidden in there could destroy us, Sam gasped as the winds howled, disorienting and terrifying. Or it could set us free, Sarah shouted back, eyes fierce with determination. The attic awaited them, every unanswered question held within its walls. Would they find the truth that had haunted them for so long? Or was the curse of their family too powerful to break? One heartbeat, two, and then, just like that, they were falling into the abyss, into the unknown. What awaited them when they reached the bottom? Would the secrets they unearthed turn their lives upside down or finally offer the chance to heal? The fall felt endless, stretching out time as they spiraled deeper into darkness. Sarah clung to Sam's hand, a lifeline in a void that threatened to swallow them whole. The cold air sliced through their flesh, and she gasped, fear stirring the pit of her stomach. "Sam!" she shouted, her voice barely audible against the howling winds that swirled around them like angry spirits. Memories from their childhood flickered in front of her like phantoms, moments of laughter twisted with the sharp pain of betrayal. "Don't let go," Sam yelled, his grip tightening on her hand. The urgency in his voice sent a jolt through her. She blinked hard, trying to focus on anything but the dizzying descent. Suddenly, they landed hard on a dense layer of dust and debris. It kicked up around them, stinging their eyes and filling their lungs. The world slowly started to come into focus. They were in the attic. The oppressive air smelled musty, alive with forgotten tales and secrets that lingered in the corners like specters waiting to be unleashed. "Are you okay?" Sarah managed to croak, coughing as she pushed herself into a sitting position. Her heart raced, every instinct screaming that they were not alone. Sam nodded, brushing off the dust. "We need to find the box," he replied, his voice low but steady. The flickering, weak light from an overhead bulb cast ominous shadows across the room, and the mustiness grew thicker with a sense of something lurking just out of sight. Carefully, they stood up, moving cautiously as if the floor might cave beneath them. The room was littered with old toys, dusty furniture, and thankfully no signs of anything that might attack. Yet the shadows seemed to pulsate with energy, each creak of the floorboards a reminder of all that had come before. "There it is," Sarah exclaimed, spotting the box in the far corner, half buried under a pile of dusty blankets. Her heart raced with a mix of dread and anticipation. They made their way toward it, almost hypnotized, every step echoing through the suffocating silence as they reached the box. A chill raced up Sarah's spine. It felt alive beneath her fingers, a thing of power and pain. "This is it," she whispered, awe and fear blending together in the tightness of her throat. What lay beyond the lid? What truths would they uncover? "Do you think it will hurt us?" Sam asked, his voice barely more than a breath. The uncertainty in his eyes mirrored her own fears. "Maybe it has to," Sarah replied, sensing that the truth would come at a price. She gripped the lid, heart hammering, and started to lift it. A low growl rumbled from the shadows, deep and menacing. The air around them crackled, swirling into a frenzy of energy that felt like it could ignite a fire. "Sarah, wait!" Sam shouted, his warning too late. The lid flew open with a thunderous clap, and they were met with an explosion of light. Golden streams burst forth, illuminating the attic in blinding brilliance, pushing back the darkness with a relentless force. Then everything stopped. The light settled, revealing a series of letters inside old yellowed paper that seemed to vibrate with their own energy. Each letter bore their names, etched in a writing they didn't recognize. Terror gripped Sarah. "What are they?" Sam whispered, his breath hitching. As Sarah picked up the first letter, a feeling of dread washed over her. I think they're from Mom." Before she could read more, the ground trembled again, and the whispering shadows shifted, coiling around the two of them. Their mother's figure emerged once more, stronger now, a distorted version of the woman they once loved. "You have unleashed what should have remained buried." The air crackled with tension, and Sarah's heart sank. They hadn't just opened a box. They had opened a portal to their worst fears, to the very truth that had chained their family for generations. "What did we do?" Sam's voice quivered, looking between the letters and the angry specter. "Now you must face the reckoning," their mother hissed, drifting closer, the shadows swirling ominously about her form. In that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. What if these letters held the key to breaking the curse? But was she brave enough to find out? Would they survive the truth, or would it destroy them once and for all? The letters began to rustle, an unseen force drawing them closer. Sarah exchanged a quick glance with Sam, fear and courage intertwining in their expressions. Together, they had to uncover the legacy that linked them so deeply to darkness. Was this their beginning or their end? The answer waited just within reach, but a deeper shadow lurked, one they had yet to confront. Would they dare to delve into the chaos or run back into the darkness of ignorance? As the whispers grew louder, they realized one crushing truth. Time was not on their side. The air thickened, buzzed with electricity as Sarah's fingers brushed against the first letter. She could feel every heartbeat thudding in her ears, a frenetic tempo that echoed through the rumbling anxiety. The sight of her mother, the twisted reflection of the woman they once knew, sent shivers crawling down her spine, and she tried to swallow the lump that had formed in her throat. "Sarah, don't." Sam pulled her hand, desperate. "We don't know what this could do." But even in her fear, curiosity clawed at her gut. She turned the page, a brittle piece of paper, fragile as a whisper. The words seemed to dance before her eyes, swirling in and out of meaning. There was a sentence, jagged and alive. "To unlock the past, you must embrace the darkest shadows." What does it mean? Sam's voice trembled, cementing Sarah's resolve. They had to uncover the truth. Could destroy them, but wouldn't ignorance be worse? "Mama's spirit, she's warning us," Sarah murmured, her light voice filled with dread. As she read on, snippets of their fragmented childhood flooded her mind: the laughter, the fights, the secrets buried beneath layers of love and bitterness. Each word was a thread, weaving them back to wounds both fresh and festering. "I can't take this, we need to get out of here," Sam said, panic edging his tone. He glanced nervously at the shifting shadows, the air thick with their mother's displeasure. "We don't belong here. Listen to me," Sarah shouted, her voice a sharp contrast to the growing whisper of shadows. "We need to understand what happened. It's the only way to break this." She turned back to the letter, determined. "We owe it to her." "Do we?" Sam fired back, confusion mixing with fury. "What if it all goes wrong?" "No. What if it goes right?" Her heart pounded in her chest, a surge of adrenaline pushing her forward. She read aloud. The shadows flickered, writhing in response. The voice of their mother grew louder, filled with anguish. "You will not escape the truth. You must suffer what I suffered, only then will you understand." A sudden gust of wind knocked into them, sending a chorus of dust swirling around, tumbling through the air like lost spirits. Sam shielded his eyes, adrenaline banishing doubt for a moment. "We can't stay. We can't." But Sarah's voice cut through the chaos, resolute and trembling. "I'll finish reading. We need." Entranced, she turned another page, only to find a shocking revelation. All will be lost, unless the final sacrifice is made. The room plunged into silence, the air thickening as the shadows held their breath. The letters seemed to shimmer ominously, their secrets darkening the atmosphere. Sarah glanced at Sam, uncertainty darting in her chest. What could it mean? A deep, bone-chilling laugh echoed from the depths of the attic, thirsting for their fear. Their mother's form shimmered as she moved closer, her features distorting with rage. "You will pay the price for the sins of your family, Sarah." Sam tugged at her arm, panic painted across his face. He was losing her to this madness, and the words on the pages turned into a haunting dirge in his mind. "We have to go. No, we have to face this." She shot back, her eyes fierce with a determination he'd never seen before. "There's more here than we understand. We have to uncover everything." Before Sam could respond, the letters erupted into a whirl of light, casting bright shadows that danced grotesquely on the attic walls. The ground shook violently, and a crack formed beneath them, wide and vast, revealing a gaping maw of darkness beneath. "Stay together," Sam shouted as the turbulence grew. They stumbled closer, desperately clinging to each other, hearts racing faster than ever. Sarah, if this goes wrong, if it traps us here, his eyes widened at the realization. We might not ever see the light again. The echo of their mother's distorted laughter filled their ears. Embrace the darkness, or perish. The air buzzed as they stood on the brink of truth and terror. Sarah swallowed hard, the weight of their choices pressing down on her shoulders. Did they dare venture deeper, knowing what was at stake? Together, Sam, she whispered, her voice steady despite the chaos. We have to do this. The shadows loomed large, tangled with despair and hope, but time was running out. Would they dare to confront the horrors of their past? Or would they be consumed by the darkness they had unearthed? As the ground swayed beneath them, one terrifying thought lingered. How deep did this hidden legacy stretch, and would they be able to uncover it without losing themselves completely? With a final unified breath, they stepped toward the letters, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. The instant they crossed that boundary into the swirling chaos, everything shifted. The room spun wildly like a kaleidoscope gone mad, blending shadows and light as their mother's tortured visage twisted in every direction. Sam felt a sharp pang in his chest, a primal fight-or-flight instinct roaring to life within him. He squeezed Sarah's hand tightly, desperate for her to realize the danger, but her gaze was locked onto the flickering pages. Look, she shouted over the howling winds, her voice filled with a fierce, unyielding gravity. It's all connected. Words began to reform, heartbreakingly familiar phrases from their childhood. Memories both precious and painful. Each line surged into existence, tearing through the shadows like a burst of sunlight. Mama's journal. Sarah's voice trembled as each word pulsed with a hidden intensity. She documented everything. Is this some kind of trap? Sam's heart raced. The walls of the attic, once merely wood and nails, around them now felt like a living entity, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting. Read it, Sarah. His urgency turned to intimidation. We don't know what it wants. A jagged laugh echoed from the darkness, an untamed frenzy that sent chills racing down their spines. Ignorance is a prison, and you will be judged by what you discover. The shadows writhed closer, and for the first time, Sarah wavered. Doubt flickered in her eyes as the flickering candlelight concealed in the dim corners illuminated faces not their own, twisted reflections of their childhood friends. Abandoned dreams lurking like specters. Mom! The word escaped Sam's lips, a low murmur almost drowned by the whispers surrounding them. This is more than we can handle. We have to find a way out. Not until we learn what she wanted us to know. Sarah's determination sparked an unexpected bravery within Sam, but dread gnawed at him still. We can't just leave. She needs us to understand. Without breaking her stride, she turned another page, and the wind howled loudly in protest. The air thickened, becoming nearly unbreathable. Her last entry. Sarah's voice cracked. It speaks of the darkness that binds. Suddenly, a rumble echoed through the attic, shaking the ground violently beneath them, like the heartbeat of the house awakening. Sam stumbled, but with a fierce pull, Sarah anchored them both. The shadows swelled like waves crashing over them, threatening to bury them alive in their own fears. Together, we can do this, Sarah shouted, a lifeline amidst the chaos that enveloped them. Her belief surged through him, igniting a spark of rebellion against their foreboding fate. They pressed onward, reading the lines together, words of betrayal, pain, and a promise that lingered just out of reach. You must face the price of your lineage. A line reverberated ominously. The bond that has tethered us through generations must be broken. What does that even mean? Sam's voice trembled. He felt the floor under his feet shifting like quicksand, a surreal abyss promising secrets buried deep beneath their family's facade. It means we must break free from whatever binds us, Sarah cried, the intensity of her voice a shield against the encroaching darkness. Just then, another shudder rocked through the room. The shadows twisted violently, reaching out like grasping hands. Not the price. We can't, Sam shouted, but Sarah was resolute. We'll sell our fears to free ourselves, Sam. She pleaded, a fierce light burning within her eyes. Before he could respond, a blinding flash erupted from the letters, casting stark silhouettes and illuminating a shadow that loomed behind them. It was an undeniable presence of despair and malice, the very embodiment of their mother-esque grief. Until the sacrifice is made, you will remain as lost as I once was. The voice thundered, drowning out all that they were, and all they hoped to be. An icy realization gripped Sam's heart. If the sacrifice is us, he hesitated, fear choking his words. What if it's everything we're afraid to admit? Sarah inhaled deeply, gazing at the swirling shadows that surrounded them, and whispered, then we face it or remain trapped by our fears forever. With one last shared glance that ignited trust between them, they pressed deeper into the unfolding story, ready to confront their mother-esque legacy. But as the truth beckoned them forward, above the din of creeping darkness, a terrifying question loomed. What was the cost of their discovery, and were they truly prepared to pay it? The air in the attic seemed to hum with anticipation, a tension so thick it felt like it could cut through the shadows encircling them. Sarah and Sam stood at the precipice of their family's legacy, all those buried secrets whispering insistently about the darkness that had tainted their bloodline for generations. As they turned the letters over, the fragrance of old paper and forgotten memories filled their lungs. Each word stitched a narrative of heartache, resilience, and despair. The urge to flee pulsed through Sam, but he met Sarah's eyes glowing with a fierce light, unwavering. She would not back down. He couldn't either. We're in this together, he murmured, his voice steadier now. With trembling fingers, Sarah turned to the last letter, its edges yellowed with age. This one, it holds the key, she declared, breath hitching as she read. To untangle the knots of pain, you must dare to embrace the shadows lurking within you. Their hearts thundered in sync, resonating with the weight of incomprehensible truths about to unfold. Sam could feel the pressure building, the shadows shifting restlessly around them, drawn to the energy of their fear and determination. We need to face her, Sarah said, her tone unyielding. The shadows are only as strong as our fear. We must admit what we've hidden. Just then, the room trembled. Cracks raked through the floorboards. A collective intake of breath echoed with the snapping of thunder outside, shaking the attic's fragile walls. The cloaked figure materialized behind them, eyes glowing with ancient rage. You are bound to me. You cannot break free, it roared, the voice distorted and alive with malice. I won't let fear rule my life anymore, Sarah shouted, courage igniting in her chest. In that moment, the foundation of their bond glimmered, a tangible force calling them to fight. We will confront you and every hardship you've brought upon us. Sam stepped beside her, his hands finding hers, fingers intertwining. Together, they faced the figure, hearts pounding defiantly. With one loud exhale, they chanted in unison. We acknowledge the pain. We embrace the truth. We shatter the chains tethering us to darkness. The words hung in the air, filling the attic with a bright, blinding energy. The wind changed direction and surged, knocking against the walls like waves crashing against the shore. The surrounding shadows twisted and howled, clawing desperately at their resolve. Then, light erupted from their hands, warm in contrast to the icy despair entwined in their mother's spirit. The letters in the box glowed too, sending forth a pulse that reverberated through the very walls of the attic. The shadow figure recoiled, howls of anguish escaping its grotesque form. With a deafening sound, the shadows started to dissolve, swirling away like smoke against a fierce gust of wind. Beyond them, deep-rooted fears turned tangible, dimming momentarily as the truth emerged. Sarah and Sam stood, heart pounding as they watched that haunting reflection of their childhood coalesce before them, a vision of their mother, filled with anguish, uncertainty, and ultimately, desperation. Mom! Sam cried out, grappling between emotions. Why did you leave us with this burden? Why didn't you tell us? Her mother's voice felt like a whisper of wind, melding with the warmth of their declaration. I never meant to tether you to my mistakes. Fear can be a prison, kept me still. Sarah's heart raced, racing against time and darkness. Then let us help you. Let us all be free. With that, they stepped forward, reaching toward their mother, ready to acknowledge the pain, the hidden regrets etched in their blood. "Mom, we forgive you," they cried. Their voices united, mended the fissures of guilt that had torn their family apart through time and sorrow. Light radiated from their connection to each other and their shared history, taking root in their hearts. The air crystallized, vibrant and alive, pulsating with a luminescence that swallowed the shadows whole. As everything dimmed into a stillness, Sarah and Sam felt the chains of their past collapse, transformed into threads of acceptance. They had confronted their fears, and in doing so, broken the cycle of pain. The attic steadied, echoing softly with the distant sounds of hope. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Sarah smiled. "We did it, Sam. We faced it together." The weight of the darkness evaporated. Their hearts filled with an unwavering sense of liberation, and they could finally breathe again. In that moment, the ceiling beams cleared, revealing a sliver of light breaking through the window, a glimpse of the future. Free from the ties of the past and silence, they left the attic, hand in hand, each step a testament to their newfound strength and enduring resilience fueled by the deep and unbreakable bond they shared. Crestwood may never forget the wedding day that had nearly unraveled their family, but it would remember the twins who faced their darkest fears and emerged transformed. They walked out into the light, forever changed, leaving the ghosts of yesterday behind. And if you're moved by this tale, you need to subscribe now to the channel. This is the moment to show your support and smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. What do you think about this explosive conclusion? Flood the comments section with your theories and reactions. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this dramatic ending. Let us spread the story far and wide.